Welcome to the Visual Storytelling Podcast. My name is Fred Ranger, and I'm very happy that you're joining us this week for another exciting conversation. This week, I have a very special guest with me. His name is Stephane Kossmann. He is a photographer, film director, founder and president of the Pierrevert Nuits Photographiques, Essaouira Nuits Photographiques, and Photographic Nights of Selma. And he's currently exhibiting at the Sofitel, New York. First of all, Stephane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for having me. And hi, everybody who's listening, who's going to be listening to this show. Very happy to be with you. We tried many times, but finally we're here.
Exactly. And Stephane, we've been discussing for a little while. And one thing that I'm very impressed is the number of things you are doing. So I'm just reading everything you're doing. It sounds overwhelming, but how did you end up being in a creative, realm? And what brought you to photography in the first place, Stephane?
As a little kid, my father was German, and German people had a tendency to always have a regular camera and a movie camera. So I grew up with that. I grew up watching little movies after the vacation trips, and my father bought me little cameras, those little Kodak Instamatic, like little box. So I was aware of photography very young, and also the way to frame a photograph, even if at that time you only had just two settings on the camera, like cloudy or sunny or whatever. It was very, very,
I
very,
remember those.
very, very simple. Then I drifted. I had a sport career. I was you can say pro basketball player for many years, and of course, I was not a NBA prospect. I was just
The French league, right?
French league, yeah, and I wasn't really great. I was rarely on the starting five, but it was part of my life for a long time, and I didn't want to end up uh, as I didn't want to end up, you know, without a job. So I played in college in the United States, and I had a visual communication um, program. So I decided to go, really into. It was a little bit of TV, movie, and photography, and I decided to go on with photography. So when during my career, basketball career, I made sure that I had another way to work after my body would would decline. So I uh, I went really into photography after that,
That's
and I started in a photography lab. I also did when I had back in the days you had a military service required. So I was a photographer in the Air Force. So all of this put me my final decision to really be a freelancer. It was 1989 after a few jobs into photography, and I'm a freelancer since that time.
wow. That's a lot of experience throughout the years. You've seen both the art form, the gear we use to tell our stories, and basically the types of people that are in that business. You've seen it evolve a lot. So what is the most or the most drastic thing that you've identified as, back in the days it was working a certain way and today's completely different? What is that one thing that strikes you?
Today is so different, especially if you're into the advertising business and you do advertising photography. Last time I really did something like that. It was for a major American fashion brand, sorry, that I'm not gonna name. But you're in the studio and there is about 10 people, and you shoot, your camera is linked to a computer, and so your image come on the screen, and the 10 people are in the room, they're going to say something about the picture, and probably 7 or 8 of them, they don't know what they're talking about, which is for me is complicated because I grew up um, with a process of the my roll of film. Then comes a proof sheet. Then I will make a selection, and then from that selection, I will do my prints, and I will only show what I selected to my client. Today, in advertising, the client, everybody wants to see all the pictures, and in that particular case, you can't hide it because it comes on a big screen. So it could be very disturbing.
Tiring. You feel you're tethered to your destiny, right? All those people that are not necessarily, great photographers or art director or whatever, they all
Yeah,
have an opinion, and I guess everybody's trying to justify their presence around that shoot.
exactly.
So yeah, I can only imagine the working conditions have evolved a lot. That's what I'm understanding from from your point. But is there also something that you feel has changed for the best in photography and visual storytelling, or the way we tell our stories in this social media age? Is there something good that you found
I
through the
think
recent years?
I think the digital phone and cameras give the opportunity to everyone to become a photographer. Except today, photography is used. I mean, you've seen that on the social media. People are taking pictures of their plate. Uh, People are taking pictures of anything.
Yeah,
I don't. There is a billions of picture taking every day, and there is probably, I don't know, 90% of it is really not very good quality. And all the little jobs that we had as photographer, I remember working for young designers. When they start, they need a photographer. They used to need a photographer. You would come to their office or their showroom, and you would set up a studio and take pictures to do their lookbook. Today, this is finished. You have an iPhone 14.
with
You
42 megapixels or something
I don't know.
on that tiny, tiny little sensor.
Yeah. So of course, the person who's taking the pictures, he doesn't know exactly what the phone is doing. She doesn't know if the phone selected uh, a f- uh, sorry, I'm mixed with French and English.
Like an HDR, or
Le diaphragme et
like the f-stop, or yeah.
the f-stop and the speed. So the person is just taking the picture, and that's it. A few little retouch on the iPhone, and there you go. Anyway, it's gonna go on an iPhone anyway because everybody is looking at pictures on iPhones now. So you don't need to have a 80 million pixel to on a regular basis. You don't need it. You do need it for the print, like behind me. Just to have a big size print, but to go on a iPhone screen, that's enough. So
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking about you. You did mention everybody has a camera in their pocket, and there's billions of photos being taken every day.
mm,
Um, but I maybe I'm being romantic about it. And maybe I haven't gone through enough of bad images to not be excited about it. But I think for me, it does also provide access to some people who couldn't afford a camera or couldn't afford the gear to tell their stories. And in doing that, yes, there's more crap because there's more people doing it, but there's
Mhm.
also new talent that we can discover through mobile photography. And again, I'm not a big fan of mobile photography, but I've seen some tremendous work, which actually shows that there is a place for a good eye, for composition, for light. Doesn't really matter what camera you have in your hand. So for me, I think maybe I'm a bit more romantic about it, but
No, 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 no.
I feel that there's some positive to it.
Of course, I do agree with you that I always say photography is very simple. It's a light and an angle, but
Yeah,
you can spend 20, 30, 40 years without finding the good the good light and the good angle. So
I agree.
the uh, the fact that we use digital provides it's very cheap because you don't have to pay your roll of film, you don't have to pay the process, you don't have to pay your print, so you can make mistakes and redo it, over and over and over. I just wanted to add to go back to your the, the question before. Um, when I started to cover the Cannes Film Festival 35 years ago, we as photographer we would shoot rolls of film and then give it to the lab at night, and we would get the slides or the negatives the next morning. So we could at that time enjoy our friends photographer, go to dinner together, go out, enjoy the life. That
Yeah,
time is finished because once you did the red carpet, you
yeah.
have to go into a press room, you have to download your pictures, you have to retouch your picture, and you have to send it to your client right away. So the conviviality of back in the days is gone. So
I can see that, and haven't been in Cannes for several times actually. I can definitely see photographers having a good time in Cannes. I can definitely see that. But to your point, if you have to work now and send it to publication and so on and so forth, you don't have time to do that. But you and I should go for a big bottle of rosé to celebrate the old times when we're there both together in Nice or Cannes or whatever, wherever.
avec plaisir.
Avec plaisir. Do you occasionally shoot a roll of? I mean, for me, this little guy here, so this is the Leica M6. It got me back into film. I used to shoot film with, Nikon's and so on,
Mhm.
but it's so expensive. What's your view on film today? Do you shoot an occasional roll of film sometimes?
I very, very rarely. I would
Mm.
shoot a. I still have a few bodies, Pentax 6x7, and I was shooting a friend of mine at different ages in the same position, the same
Oh, that
frame.
is so cool. Nice.
It is really beautiful. Unfortunately, that friend died last year, so
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
yeah. So I think I haven't shot any film for a while yet now. So
So what are your? This is not a gear show, but I'm always interested to learn more about the tools that people use today. So when you work on the red carpet, or when you do some studio portraits, or when you just do street photography, like what's your usual setup that you use
I,
today?
yeah, when I shoot a lot of portraits, and I also have personal projects. We'll get to that later on because of the Photographic Nights of Selma in Alabama. Um, when I shoot can, I have a minimum of two bodies and two lenses, like one zoom. It's a 24 120 with Nikon, which
Yep.
is very handy for this kind of event. And also on the second body, an 85 or a 200, a two 200. So
Yeah.
it's a very heavy lens. So every time I take it, it's like a punishment. At the end of the red carpet, that your back is gonna hurt, and
But did
but
you make the switch to the Z line, so the mirrorless line, or are you still on the DSLR?
I'm still on the DSLR. I haven't switched to the Z yet because I'm thinking maybe to switch to Canon.
Yeah, with the
So
R series. Yeah.
I'm debating, and at the same time, also would love to have maybe a Hasselblad. So I don't
Oh,
know. I got all these young photographers. They all have Leicas now.
yeah,
I do have Leica, but I have a M5. I have the Leica R. I don't know. I have 5 or 6. All of this is gone.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm currently test driving the M11. I won't keep it. It'll go back to the camera store I'm working
That's
with.
the one who is only black and white.
No, that's the latest iteration of the M series. So this is like they have a tri resolution sensor, so you can do 60 megapixel, 30 megapixel, 18, depending on what you shoot. Like if you shoot an event with thousands of photos, you might want to go with
Yeah.
18. But more than that, it's that they really were able to replicate the size, the weight, the look and the feel, the dials of the M6. So this is when I go from one to the other, it's very, very seamless. It's very easy
Oh
uh,
wow.
to go from one to the other. But my main kit is on the Fujifilm side of things because I travel a lot and I like light stuff and I like to be very efficient with my gear. So, anyways, this is not a gear show. I would like us to focus on
Yeah. No, no
something
problem.
something you mentioned, and in the intro, I did say that you are the founder of a couple of events. So let's start with one that I was supposed to go to, but I was traveling to another part of the country, and I'm making a commitment that next year I want to be there because I want to experience it. My friend John Hendrick, that I actually interviewed on this podcast, was there, and he
Mhm.
said so many good things about the event. So. Photographic Night of Selma. How did that started, and what's the idea behind it? What's the mission of it?
Um, I on a very very personal uh, level. About 5 years ago, I started a photography work on segregation in the southern states, in America, and as a human being, I wanted to go to Selma because for Selma was, of course, the civil rights movement and the march with Dr. King. So I went there with my best friend from high school when I was in high school in Indiana, and we walked the bridge. And after walking the bridge, I ended up in a coffee shop, and I asked this older black guy, I'm looking for locations because I'm taking pictures of very special places where the crimes have been perpetuated. So, and this gentleman say, "Oh, you need to talk to Joanne Bland. She's a tour guide, and she was 11 years old when Bloody Sunday happened."
Wow.
So he called her on the spot, and I talked to Joanne, and she was so funny. She said, "Well, if you buy me lunch, I'll come and see you."
That's good. That's a good deal.
Yeah, so it was a good deal because she came, and we are friends since that moment because the it was, you, that first impression that you mean when you meet someone is 99% of the time is that's it. If
Yeah,
you
I
le,
agree.
le courant passe or not, so with Joanne it was right away. It was and I ended up going back to Selma. I ended up going to the Jubilee, do across the bridge a couple of times. Because of Joanne Bland, I met with John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis, who's for me my hero, I would say. And I had a privilege one day to be alone with him for 20 minutes, which is was completely amazing to see this man with this very very tough face and all he experienced in his life, to be able to talk to him and hear the sweetness of his voice.
Mm.
It was just, it was just incredible. And I I told John that Joanne and I had a project to start a photography festival in Selma, and he said, "Oh, it's a good idea. Keep me posted, and if I can help you guys, I will." But except the next year, he died. The year
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
So, but Joanne and I are now, we just did the third edition last November. I was in Selma last weekend for the jubilee, and so we had the opportunity to do a team meeting, and we are working on the fourth edition. I want to say, especially in Selma, it's more than photography. It is a me being a white European person and Joanne being a black American person, I can allow myself to say some words to Joanne that a white American guy will not dare to do. We have a very open relationship, and the white community and the black community from Selma are saying the same thing. They see each other during the day, they work together, but at night or on Sundays, we all go to church separately. And so these two communities are saying the same about the Photographic Nights of Selma. That we know each other, but we didn't really have a project together, and it's working. They are. I had a friend of mine who told me one day that it was going to be impossible to have a photography festival there. No, you know.
Nothing's impossible until you try it.
I'm very happy that Joanne, one point after a few months, she said, "Stefan, what can you do for our community?" And I said, "Well, Joanne, I'm just a photographer, but I created two photography festivals, one in France, one in Morocco. Maybe we can start one here, because what I saw at the Jubilee, the bridge crossing every year, I see a lot of people who are activists, meaning they go on the bridge, they take a selfie. Here I am on the bridge, and then they leave. They don't spend $1 in Selma. They go directly back to Montgomery, where they sleep and eat there, and then the next day they take a plane back to New York or to
Mm.
another part of the world. So the idea was to bring back some economy, sorry, to the Selma community, and it's working. It's working because of course, we started the festival right in the pandemic,
Yeah.
so it was only five photographers could show up, and it was a nice little crowd, but it was very humble. But we did it. We started at the second year. 23 photographers came, and last edition it was over 30 photographers who came. So,
Wow.
and now they are buying hotel nights. They are going to restaurants. It's little, but it will grow because, like you say, photographers have been telling you that it's really a success, and it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow.
Yeah, I can see that. And this is where I think photography becomes meaningful, right? And that's something I've been searching for a long time. I mean, creating good images and great images is fun, but when you feel that the art form can bring people together and actually have an impact, and not just an impact for today, but for the future, I think this is where you can feel the intensity and the basically the impact that photography can have in your life and people's life. So it's funny. Also, we have a saying in French. You'll understand that one, Stéphane. Les hasards de la vie. Right? You went to that coffee shop, ran into this this person, and then all of a sudden you're connected with the governor. Like it's a crazy story, but those are the stories that make life worth living. And I love hearing those stories. And I'm happy to know that the fourth edition will be kicking shortly. You guys, I guess you're going to start working on that shortly. And I am confirming my presence. I don't know what the date is again, but I'll be there.
We are, from what I remember, I think we are 3, 4, 5, 6 of November.
Perfect.
First week of November.
And here in Montreal, it's cold and like rainy, so it's going to be a good time in Selma. But Stefan, talk to me a bit about the other events, because you've been active in France also. And so, what are those other events? Is it the same exact model that you're replicating in each of those location, or is it a bit different?
It's. I would love to be able to replicate what's happening in France in Pierrevert. This year we're celebrating the 15th edition.
Wow.
So, and I love this festival because I had the idea of create this festival because my father passed away a long time ago now. And my mom is alone at home in her village, and Pierrevert is where she lives. So I created this festival to um, I don't want to say force, but to know that I have to go to Pierrevert, so this way I can see my mom and I can work on the festival. And that festival got really big, and uh, the we have every year 100 guests, and all the guests
Wow.
are hosted by the people from the village, which I would love to replicate that in Morocco. In Morocco, it's complicated because the one in Morocco, um, we're struggling every year with the budget because I'm not Moroccan. I'm not a Moroccan resident. I had a hard time to create the association there. I'm still looking for, and you can send the message out there. I'm still looking for American people to be able to create the association there, so we can have a bank account and receive money from the Moroccan sponsors. So that had been a struggle. From the three festival, is the only one we skipped one edition because of COVID, because the country was completely locked.
Yeah.
So there was 1 year we couldn't do it, but we are working. There's a new lady who is in charge of the French Institute in Essaouira, a very active lady. Her name is Juliette, and she's up for it. We are working on the seventh edition, which is going to take place the first week of October. We have new ideas, and of course, we're looking for sponsor also, because I, my teamwork, my team and I myself, we are all volunteers, but we do need money to pay for trips of photographers, like VIP photographers, or we need money to be able at least to pay some meals, to be able to pay some hotel rooms, and a few other things like posters and all the things around the festival.
Promotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stefan, you seem to be, and I don't know if that's something that you've always felt inside of you, but you seem like a connector. You're the type of person who likes to connect people, create unique, memorable events that people go back home and say, "Oh, I've met all these inspiring people." So was that always within you, or is that something you discovered throughout your career or your life?
What I know is that when I have to take a portrait of someone, I can make this person that I'm going to photograph very comfortable in a few seconds. that's in me. So that's my the way I operate. So uh, I also, as you know, also because you're a photographer, we are very solitary individuals.
Yes.
When you go and take picture, if you bring someone with you, is that person's gonna slow you down. And she's not gonna understand what you're doing, and she'll say, "Oh, well, you should be here. You should be doing that." Except you and the camera, and you have a different frame. So most of the time, you're an individual out there, and you do your work. And as you know, also as photographer, as freelancers, most of them, especially when you start the career, you struggle. I
Yeah.
always, when I see parents, people my age or a little bit younger, and they send me their kids, and they say, and the kids, well, I want to be a photographer. What should I do? And the first thing I ask is that uh, the your parents, do they have money?
And are you okay being lonely for the rest of your life? No, I'm just kidding.
No, no, because for 5 years you're not gonna earn any money because it's
Yeah.
gonna be very hard. So if
You're
you're
going to
gonna,
need your support system to be very active, impliqué.
voilà, and if you don't have anybody to support you, it's gonna be very hard on you. So the fact that we all struggling at one point of our career at the beginning, even today, clients because of COVID, went bankruptcy or they switch to something different. The fact that you are able to bring, like every year in Pierrevert, we bring 50 photographers, and you have photographers that are very, very well known in their field. Like, we have a very well known fashion photographer and a very well known street photographer. I want to name Bernard Plossu, and I want to name Jean-Daniel Lorieux, who are
Mm.
about the same age. Uh, uh, they are world famous in their field, but they did not know each other, not even the name of it.
Really? They didn't know the other one
Yeah,
existed,
yeah.
literally.
It
Wow.
was a mixed. I wanted to make sure that I would come back always to my mom and be with her.
Yeah.
So I create that festival because at the same time, the co-founder was this François Xavier Emery, who's an excellent photographer and was also based in the south of France, and we knew each other. And I went to see him, and I say, François Xavier, I have an idea of the festival. You think it's a good idea? Should we do that? Because at that time in our district, it was a very, very, there were, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with English today. There was no representation of a photography festival at all in our district. So this is how we started it. And the beginning was I kind of copy what I experienced into movie festivals. So there was a jury, there was we did a photo contest and then after the years we quit the photo contest because we didn't have any prizes to give. So it was now it's we have shown over 500 photographers in Pierre.
Wow. That's a lot of images. So I want to take that tangent and talk about images because you've been taking images for a long time. You've been seeing and viewing images from other photographers for a long time. For
Yes.
you, Stefan, what makes I know it's a tricky question, but what makes a good image at the end of the day when you remove any, you know, ad agencies, prizes, whatever, just what makes a good image?
I'm not very good at intellectualizing photography. There are people who do that job way more easy than I do. Uh, I want to say it's the same when I go to to the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, and I'll go on a night watch, and I see a Rembrandt, and it just talks to me, it talks to my heart, and I'm
Mm,
not gonna try to explain it. A good photography is at some point that it grabs you, just to look at it.
yeah.
And I had I had the privilege to have a mentor who is Peter Knapp, who is a dear friend of mine. And Peter is 92 years old.
Wow.
He's going to curate my next show in Pierrevert in Manosque. Um, I can't wait because I'm flying tomorrow to Paris, and I'm driving to Zurich to his home, and we're going to be just him and I talking about my pictures, and it's amazing. Um, uh, Again, a good photography. Uh, Peter always tell me, don't be impressionné. Comment tu dis impressionné?
Yeah, don't be impressed or don't be
Be
too
impressed.
easily impressed. Yeah.
Don't be impressed by the size of a photograph.
Yeah.
He likes the small format because he requires you to actually move to the photography and actually to look into this rectangle or this square to find what's in it.
That's no, but I
It's
think you're touching on some very good points. It doesn't have to. You didn't, and what I think it's what you didn't mention that actually talks to me. You didn't talk about technique, or you didn't talk about composition, or even the way you expose the photo or the sharpness. Like those are all invented stuff that I guess camera manufacturers want us to believe that are very important. Most of the chefs d'oeuvre in photography are pretty much out of focus, to be honest. Like if you think about any of Soil Lighter, any of the Cartier-Bresson, like those are all pretty much out of focus photos, but it talks to you. To your point, it creates an instant connection because there's a moment. So I
Mhm,
think the moment that you're capturing, especially for street photography, if you're doing portraits, but I think it can apply to portraits too. But when you capture someone's soul, or when you capture a moment that connects with you, to your point, that what makes an image. Then if it's sharp, then it's a bonus. You got your focus right. I don't know if that's important to you, but I guess for portraits it is. But again, I
mhm.
think to your point, the most important part is the moment, and if it talks to you, if it talks to your heart. And I like the comment from Peter, because hey, who cares about the size? I think if it's a smaller size, yeah, you're going to spend maybe a little bit more time discovering the image and maybe diving in and zooming in, not like we do on phones, but like literally with your soul into the photo. So I think it's very interesting view on photography.
It's exactly what you were saying at the beginning of our discussion. Uh, it's not the camera; it's you who are taking the picture.
Exactly.
You can make a great image with an iPhone, and because you had the good light, you had the good angle, and all of a sudden it's wow, it's a great image.
Yeah. Stefan, we're almost at the end of the show, but I want to talk about your exhibition. So you actually, I think it was March 9th, opened up with at the Sofitel in New York. That's a pretty cool location to be doing an exhibition. I'm sorry I missed that one too. So I guess next year I'll be following you around the world. That's my plan for next year.
Yeah, no problem. You're very welcome. Yeah,
No, but
you're
let's talk about that exhibition. So, Stefan, what is it, and why are you exhibiting in New York, and how can people learn more about it?
I exhibit in New York because I live in New York most of the time. I have the privilege to be a U.S. resident. I have a green card, so I don't know if you people know about it, but when you are a green card holder, you have to spend 6 months and 1 day in the country you are.
Didn't know that.
So once you get the passport, you can do whatever you want. But as a green card resident holder, I have to be in the States 6 months. So I do have a place here in New York, and I it's been almost 20 years now that I'm in New York. It was a choice of life. I came in the United States in 1976 as an exchange student. I was in high school and then in college, and then I went back to France, and then uh, I had the opportunity to come back to New York and to the state, and I wanted to have a working experience in New York. So I in the Sofitel show, I show it's a little space, very cozy. Um, there are about 12 pictures of New York in color. That's what I call walking New York, because when you walk New York, you see things, and this all the Europeans or all the people coming from the world, the first thing they want to do is just to walk. They don't want to take the subway. They want to start early in the morning and walk all day, because you see all these buildings and all the people, and then this way of living. It's very dépaysant. I don't know the word in English. Uh, so this is part of the show, and because of Sofitel, which is a bridge between New York and Paris, the um, the elegance of the European fashion and the toughness of the New York City. I also introduced some of my black and white pictures from Cannes, because I'm the only photographer in the world to have published three books on Cannes Film Festival.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I have 35 years of archives, and I show I think also 12 pictures of Cannes there.
So
Um,
black and white on the red carpet. That's is it because it was back in the day, or you still shoot black and white still today on the red carpet?
well, today I shoot digital. So with a digital file, you can do whatever you want. But
Yeah.
when I started Cannes, because of Peter Knapp, because Peter Knapp was a artistic director of Filipaki group, and the magazine I was working for only it was only black and white pages. So I started it with black and white, and I was all of a sudden I'm next to press photographer, and this is a completely different field for me. I see guys yelling at the stars to have the eyes in the camera, and I'm going, oh wow, if I don't have the eyes on the camera, it's not going to be a good picture. So here I am, I'm struggling, and I'm yelling at someone. It's not me. So, and then the next year or a couple years after, I finally made this incredible image of Isabella Gianni for the La Reine Margot, that movie,
Yeah.
and you see the director Patrick Chéreau, Isabella Gianni, and Daniel Auteuil, like three profiles, and I say that's it. I say that's it.
That
That's
was the
that's
moment where you're like, wow, okay, this is
that's going to be my signature. So
yeah.
from there, 15 years later, with Peter Knapp, who did the layout and the preface of the book, I published my first book. It's called Observation on the Red Carpet in Cannes, and that define. I mean, at that point, it was a shock, because you never seen that. You never seen the red carpet. We actually no red, no eyes in the camera,
That's it.
frame on the faces, and no, it was major. It was a major turn.
By the way, I'm looking at the photo right now, and I'll put a link to where people can see it and buy it if they want. Um, that photo is beautiful, by the way. Those eyes of Isabelle, and then you see, Stéphane, you see Daniel Auteuil in the background and blurry. Like that's for me, that represents again a moment that was there that will
Yeah,
never come back in time, and you were able to capture it. You can always take pictures of stars walking on a red carpet, that will every year, right? But that moment where she was kind of in a awe moment or like just a very pensive type of moment, that's yours, man. Yeah, congrats on that shot because I know a lot of photographers who are looking at that and they're like, ah, this is what I should be doing, not just like, hey,
Yeah,
Isabelle, Isabelle, and then
but Fred, just back in the days, to come back there, I remember shooting when actually the other one were had their camera on the side, not shooting.
because they thought it was not an important moment because they were
No,
sitting and then
no.
they're watching a screen or yeah.
Today is different because they've seen my work, was published a long time ago, and I don't want to say they copy my work, but it's a way of doing it, that
Kind
it
of a
was
behind the scene type of approach or documentary style, but within a fashion industry
it
or
was just a new way to take pictures of the red carpet, and I
do
am.
you remember your setup again? Sometimes I'm curious. So like, how did you get that pin sharp, eyes of Isabelle, and then the other guy? Did you have to take
The
him out?
thing is that I used a 300 millimeter,
Uh
uh,
huh.
a 2.8.
Yeah.
I used the same film, which was a T-Max 400 pushed with two stop. It was 16 ASA,
Yeah, and your highlights are they're not blown. They're just like bang on.
and then I had like this cette façon de faire répétitive, like it was
Like almost a formula, I guess. Like a
yeah, yeah. So this is why I was allowed to put my work into galleries, like contemporary art galleries, because I had a systematic way of taking picture. It was like an obsession, and they they liked that, and it was a chance for me to be able to have my work in a major gallery. I want to say. Edouard Mitterrand in Geneva, he allowed me to put me into his program. So I was very proud about that. Uh,
that's great. And would you say that consistency is kind of the key here? So you've been able to build a body of work that people can instantly attribute to you, or because right now it's hard to talk about consistency in a world where photographers are being asked to do a lot of things, right? So it's my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder to be that guy that does that style of photo because if not, then you might not get money to eat, because you have to do all these different
yeah,
types of shoots.
yeah, but for a while I had people coming. I had comments like of people saying, "Oh, I saw pictures of Cannes and I knew it was your picture
There you
because
go.
I had that signature." But I haven't heard that for a while now because everybody is doing that.
Yeah.
When I published my first book, it was absolutely no black and white pictures into magazine like People magazines and stuff. It was only color, only eyes in the camera. So it was a big change. I mean, now in those same magazine, you see when you see the portfolio about Cannes, you actually see my kind of pictures,
Yeah.
and so into a mix of also eyes in the camera and also, but back in the days that did not exist. That did
That's
not
great.
exist.
You took the risk and it paid off in the end.
Mm.
Stefan, we're last question. So you've been around, you've been shooting for a long time. Where does a guy like you go for inspiration when you've taken so many images, when you've seen so many images? Where do you look at other photographers, or do you look into other sphere of art, or even outside of the art sphere to get inspired to keep the fire
Uh,
going?
I don't want to say outside of the art, but I do force myself not to be on the screen all the time. I force myself to look at books, to read. As my mentor Peter, if you do a photography book today, it cannot only be with pictures. You have to have one picture and a text with it.
A
Uh,
story to go with it, right?
yeah, so I try to read as much as I can in French and in English, and I'm very involved into civil rights now because I've been I don't say involved like politically involved, but I involve myself as a human being into that because I think that if we are able to sit at the table and talk and exchange idea, the world will go much better, you know. And
I completely agree with you, and this is far from, I would call it slacktivism on Instagram and taking a selfie, like you mentioned. That the world needs more people like you, Stefan, where you take the camera, but you also are doing meaningful work and trying to do your part.
yes,
Um, for me, I'm a bit sick of seeing all those Instagrammers and influencers pretending that they are influencing the world to be a better place, but then the acts are not necessarily aligned with the
mm,
mission that they promote online. But again, that's the nature of the world how it is today, the nature of the platforms, the nature of how it's
mm.
hard to be again a photographer with purpose, but also make money and so on and so forth. So I don't blame anyone. I'm just saying that it's refreshing to hear something.
I'm not blaming anyone. I just need that. I think there is a need for people to get together to actually be together physically and exchange ideas and talk to each other and eat together and smile to each other and you know, just be normal human beings.
Well, I think that ends the show on a very, very hopeful and positive note. And it's been a real pleasure, Stefan, to get to know you a little bit better. I'm sure the listeners will want to know more. Where can they find out a little bit more about your work, the events you manage or that you put on? Where can they learn more?
Okay, as you witness, I'm very bad, getting online and all of this. But I do have a friend who actually finished to put to build my website. So there is my website, stephanekossmann.com. And
Perfect.
the three, he also take care. His name is Nicolas. He also take care of all the three websites of the les Nuits Photographiques de Pierrevert, les Nuits Photographiques d'Essaouira, and Photographic Nights of Selma. They all have websites. Again, everybody is welcome to participate. Everybody is also uh, welcome to just attend. We try to do things nicely. We try to nothing. Everything is free. When you come to Pierrevert, you will see quality work for free. You will enjoy and meet the photographers. We require the photographers to be present. If the
Yes.
person cannot make it, we say, okay, you'll come next year with your work. We want the photographers to be present. So,
Alors, c'est un rendezvous, mon ami. So it's a rendezvous. We're gonna make sure that we connect in either of those cities in France, in Morocco, or in the US. I am very excited about that. I'll put all the links that you mentioned. I'll put it in the show notes so people can actually click and go
yeah.
see for themselves, or even register or go to the event. Again, Stefan, I really want to thank you for your time. You've been very generous. I thought that this was a very meaningful conversation, and you're actually making me even more happy about this podcast because I get to meet very inspirational people like you, and it keeps me going, and it keeps me hopeful for photography and the future of the art form. So I can't wait to connect with you in person, and until then I wish you a very nice trip back to France, and I guess we'll connect soon. And if anybody has questions for Stefan or myself, don't hesitate to send us an email or to find us online. Maybe I'll be quicker to respond than Stefan on Instagram.
Probably.
You can find me there, but I'm sure Stefan will take the time to answer any questions that you might have. So Stefan, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll chat soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.